even by something like 5 or 10%. And you don't have to, necessarily just force yourself onto a diet. We prefer like a sustainable pattern of eating. So we wouldn't even really call it a diet.
Absolutely.
I believe we've sort of coined the term intuitive eating as something that is sustainable, it's going to work for you, and that can be with or without medication.
Not to get too off into the weeds, staying more on a lot of questions that we get. Some questions that we get around menopause is the cure to menopause just dating my husband again? So obviously the answer to that is no. So let's posit the question, is the cure to PCOS and endometriosis for that matter, certainly heard this, is the cure just to eat less and go for a jog?
That is not the cure, but it can be an important part of a comprehensive plan. So when we talk about those sort of sequelae that we see as symptoms of PCOS, if somebody becomes insulin resistant, overweight, pre-diabetic, then you treat those two things in a similar manner. So we understand that there's oftentimes going to be some hyperandrogenic things that we're treating at the same time, but reducing that insulin excess, reducing body weight, even by something like 5 or 10%, and you don't have to necessarily just force yourself onto a diet. We prefer like a sustainable pattern of eating. So we wouldn't even really call it a diet.
Absolutely.
I believe we've sort of coined the term intuitive eating as something that is sustainable, it's going to work for you, and that can be with or without medications. Lifestyle is always a great place to start because the upside is very high and the potential downside and side effects are very low. So there are many people who have lost significant amounts of weight and improved symptoms with lifestyle alone. And there's also plenty of people who combine supplements or medications and lifestyle and have success in reducing that insulin resistance. So I think some things that would be more specific in terms of not just restrict calories, exercise more, but perhaps a lower carbohydrate diet, because we do know that the carbohydrates are going to drive insulin.
Absolutely.
And not necessarily worrying about the insulin and weight debate that's out there, but just insulin and driving those androgenic symptoms that could be useful in this particular state.
Yeah, I think this is a great example of one, even at the same weight and body composition, a different diet can have significant beneficial effects. And then also two, there is a different optimal diet, for lack of a better term, but really just a habit that this is the lifestyle of what you have learned to intuitively eat or what you have learned to not intuitively eat. Because food truly is medicine. Some individuals with PCOS might react very, very poorly to carbs. Doing something like a CGM or a glucose monitor might help, but also taking a HOMA-IR or an LP-IR ratio might help, or even doing genetic tests and know, well, for me, perhaps I'm in the minority, carbs, or at least like complex, complete carbs, I react to fairly well, but fats, I have a pretty big glycemic and insulin spike from some of these.
Yeah, it really is individualized, and we've said that over and over again, but really an individualized plan is what's going to be the most successful, and that goes back to even medications. So if we get into some of those things, and medications and supplements, because there's sort of this misconception that medications are bad and always cause side effects, or that supplements are always good and never have side effects, or people that think vice versa. There's a lot of diversity out there.